In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your own SQL developer environment so that you can write your own SQL queries and practice what you've learned. So in order to facilitate that, I've gone ahead and set up a PostgreSQL database on Heroku. And what this is a database in the cloud, as sort of sits as a service so that you don't actually have to set up your own SQL database. It can be technical, and so in order to cut all that out and actually provide you with a working database with some tables with pre-populated data, so that you can really just get started, I've gone ahead and set that up. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of this post here, and you'll see that there are some connection settings. And so I'm assuming that you've already downloaded and installed Navicat. So I'm going to go ahead and bring mine over, and we'll walk through getting set up on Heroku's Postgres database. So yours is empty, but I already have a few connections that I've set up. So rather than letting you watch me fill everything in, I'll just show you mine. But what you're going to want to do is click on Connection and go to PostgreSQL. If you were connecting to one of these other servers, you'd obviously click them. But for our purposes today, we're using PostgreSQL. So go ahead and click on that, and it will prompt you with a screen that looks something like this. So here's my settings already pre-populated, and I've just copied all the settings from the web page there right into this the screen here. You can give it whatever name you want. It doesn't really matter. I've just called it mine Heroku Playground. One final thing that you need to do is go over to SSL and click Use SSL, and then we can go ahead and click Test Connection, and we can see that our connection is successful, so we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and click OK, and now we're going to say Open Connection. And now we'll see just a ton of databases. And this is because Heroku hosts a whole bunch of databases, not just mine. But we only have access to mine. And for whatever reason, even though we've specified which database we want to open, Navicat hasn't opened it for us. We have to take one more step, and we'll go down to, we want, where is it? Open database, there we go. So I'm just going to paste in the name of my database here. And again, this is from the settings on the post. And then we just scroll down until we find the green one. There we go. So there's our database. A little cumbersome, but you'll get there. So let's go ahead and open it up, and you'll see that we've got tables, views, functions, and queries. Don't worry about that too much. Let's just go ahead and take a look at our tables here. So here we can see I've got my list of tables that I've already populated with some data. And this is basically the tables that I used in the presentation, so that you can go ahead and follow along if you want. Or run your own queries and just kind of get a feel for how SQL works. So let's just kind of open these up and see what's inside them real quick. So here we can see I've got all of these different addresses in my address table, and I can go ahead and edit these if I want. If this was supposed to be lowercase or whatever, I can make changes, and now it's updated the database. I'm going to change that back. But you get the idea. You can go in here, you can add records. So let's go ahead and add a record. I'm not going to give it an ID because I want Postgres to automatically increment. If I don't specify the ID, then it will automatically increment this to 8, and we'll see that in just a second. So I will give this an ID, customer ID of 3. If you've seen the presentation, then you kind of have an idea of how this works. This is going to associate to our third customer in our customer table, and let's give them just a quick address here of Test Street. All right, so we've created our record. And you'll see that the ID automatically incremented. So you generally want to just let Postgres manage the IDs. So that's pretty much the gist of adding, creating. We can delete records if we want, but I'm not going to, just because I have to go through and write all these records for you guys to play around with. So I'll go ahead and leave that in there. But yeah, you can just open up any of these just by double clicking on them. What we're really interested though in is queries. So let's go ahead and click on query, and we will click on the plus down here to open up a new query window. And so let's go ahead and write a quick little query. So I'm going to select star from people. And I will click run. And now we can see that we've queried the people table and gotten back all the people in our people table. And you can write all the queries that I presented in my presentation. You can write your own, and I highly encourage you to just play around and see what happens, particularly with joins, because they can be a little bit difficult to visualize, so it's always good to kind of play around with it and just see what the results you get back are, so that you can get a feel for how the SQL works. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about Navicat, about SQL, about really most database management software. They're all very similar and kind of broken up like this. Navicat is quirky in its own ways, but it gets us where we need to go. And I also encourage you to explore more into SQL. This is really just the R of the entire CRUD action. So if you're interested in doing more database management, I highly recommend you grab a book, or there's tons and tons of resources on the web if you want to go beyond this. But this really gets you started and lets you kind of play on your own. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section. Thanks.